Hello and welcome to Game Reviews by James. Today I'll be doing something I've never done before, and that is looking at a completely fan-made game, Alex Kidd in Miracle World 2. Now I wouldn't normally do something like this, but in these extenuating circumstances, especially in the case of the Alex Kidd series, which Sega has completely abandoned since 1990, believe it or not, I will gladly look at anything that keeps the spirit of the series alive. Alex Kidd in Miracle World 2 is, in essentials, exactly what the name implies. A direct sequel to the original Alex Kidd in Miracle World game. Put together by an incredibly dedicated group of fans, it's built with the same engine the first game was built with, but it's got enough tweaks and changes that it feels like a true follow-up to the first game, as opposed to just being an expansion of it. I think of it sort of like Super Mario Galaxy 2. It's very similar to the first game, but it adds enough to make it its own unique experience. Released earlier this year on Sega 8-Bit, a Sega Master System fan site, Alex Kidd in Miracle World 2 is a passion project, made by the fans for the fans. The webpage gives you all of the details you could ever need to know about the game, screenshots, credits, background info, the story, and most importantly, the download link. Upon booting up the game, you're treated with a very well animated Alex Kidd waving his fingers back and forth, accompanied by an upbeat tune. It is noticeably reminiscent of the original game, and everything that a good title screen should be because it leaves the player intrigued. Once you confirm that you are ready to begin your adventure, you're dropped right into the world map. You'll see that Alex Kidd is no longer eating the rice ball, he's just holding it. And this time around, he's sporting a mustache. Okay, well, I know that's supposed to be his nose, but come on, it looks like a mustache. Gameplay is extremely similar to the original game, with a few changes here and there, which I guess is okay because the original game had good gameplay in its own right. One thing I could definitely applaud the designers for is that it still certainly feels like an Alex Kidd game in the sense that it still has that dastardly difficulty the series is known for. It still has those difficult jumps across bottomless pits, enemy patterns and projectiles that must be expertly avoided, and once again you'll be breaking more blocks and bubbles with your giant fists than any kid has a right to. They did change and overhaul some of the less player-friendly aspects of the original title. For instance, continues are now cheaper to buy and no longer require a cryptic button press sequence to pull off. As long as you've got 400 gold in your account when you die, you're good to keep going. Levels too have been made much shorter, but that's not a bad thing. In the original game, the levels vastly varied in length. Here they are all kept consistent. I very much enjoyed the shorter levels. It made progression much more rewarding. Not a section of any level is filled up with any pointless space. Each moment is there on purpose. Another aspect of the level design that's been changed around is that there seems to be more variety in the settings of the levels this time around. It's just a small thing, but I'm definitely glad they added more themes. The game controls well enough, I suppose. Nothing about the way Alex Kidd moves around or interacts has changed, which I think ties into the way the game is designed in such an integral way it wouldn't really make much sense to mess with it. I used an NES controller with a USB adapter and it did me well, as I'm sure other USB controllers, Master System, and Genesis pads would do in playing the game also. Another little thing I'm glad they changed is that thankfully there is a lot more gold in the levels. One of the biggest flaws in the first game was that it was expensive to get continues, and there wasn't much gold in the levels to boot. Therefore, you could only continue once or twice in a playthrough realistically. In my playthrough of Alex Kidd in Miracle World 2, I was able to continue several times without even having to think about it much. There is enough gold in the levels that you can continue several times and buy items from the shop. The shop returns and is just as useful as it used to be. Should you choose to use it, a glut of items are available to make progression through the game much easier. Personally, I don't like to use it, but it's there if that's your handicap. Those familiar with the original will notice right away there is an all-new ensemble of enemy characters. The most common of which is the rhinoceros beetle looking thing, but lots of others join in on the fun like this snake frog hybrid, the inky ghost from Pac-Man, Psyduck from Pokemon, Podoboo from Mario, and these flying red bras. Power-ups of course return in all their awesome glory. Mainstays like the Petacopter and the dirt bike return, and I was happy to learn that the red ring of death was more plentiful than ever. Hell, the thing not only breaks down multiple blocks at once, but makes boss battles an absolute breeze. New power-ups were even added, like this orb I used by mistake that spawned several mini Alex kids. The soundtrack in the game is all very solid. Each track fits the world it represents excellently, and overall, I think it's better than a lot of the original game's music. Nothing's as catchy as the original Alex Kidd theme song, but I enjoyed everything else immensely. They could have just copped out and reused the original game's musical score, but it's this extra effort to make something truly special that shows that this isn't your basic fan hack, but rather, it's an example of what could have been if Sega had made something like this back in the day. The last aspect of the game I would like to discuss is the castles. Not only are these the most difficult levels in the game, but also the most creative. Being quick and nimble is the name of the game in these castles. If not, you'll get cornered by a Reaper, or literally all hell will break loose. The castles are designed in a way that is a throwback to the original game because yes, the same kind of challenges and design quirks are present in these. Just the right amount of trial by error and luck are needed in order to progress, which is pretty par for the course in an Alex Kidd game. Overall, I must say I enjoyed this game immensely.
I like it a lot.
It fixes all of the things that could be improved from the original, it adds enough content to separate it from others in the Alex Kidd series, and it adds an all-new soundtrack that is both catchy and pleasant to listen to in its own right, but it also happens to sync up with the theme and visuals of the game. I just appreciate the fact that the folks who worked on this game were devoted enough to create something that is enjoyable in its own right without having to be compared to the original. Several times while I was playing, I forgot that this was something made by the fans and not Sega themselves. That seems like it was the goal of this project, and if you ask me, it succeeds in achieving its desired result. Make sure to check out the game if you're interested using the link in the description box below. And also be sure to check out Nicole Marie T's YouTube page for several pieces of original video game music and excellent remixes as well. She's the one responsible for introducing me to the game, and without her, I would have never gotten the chance to play it, so thank you very much. As always, thanks for watching, and have a great night.